This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Ned Days and Lee Rosen cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members receive this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on optimizing your law firm's intake system, and an answer to a member question about sending surveys to unhappy clients. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Ned Days.
It's an exciting week here in Boston, Massachusetts. My wife and I have just embarked on a little vacation for her summer holiday. We are starting here in Boston and doing a whirlwind tour of New England. There is a lot to see here, a lot of history, obviously, but I have to be honest, the thing that made the biggest impression on me has been the incredible number of men in kilts that have descended on the city. We didn't realize it when making our plans, but the World Cup is on and Scotland played Haiti. It has been several decades since either team was in the Cup, so both countries were pretty excited. The Scots were out in full force, tartan kilts everywhere in the city, and they pulled off the win, so there was lots of celebrating. It's time for your tech tip. I have a rapid-fire list of a few useful apps, websites, and tools for you today. They are all fairly straightforward and do one thing, but do it pretty effectively. The first two are my favorite kind of tool. No setup, no app. You just visit the website and use them. This one is a bit of a doozy. Top 10 best virtual number apps.com. Whether you need an eSIM for travel, a burner number to create a Discord account on that Golden Girls fan fiction server, or a reliable SMS service that you can access via API for some project you are recklessly vibe coding, this website gives you a breakdown of about 90 different providers and services. You can filter by privacy, whether or not they offer text and SMS, eSIM functionality, whether you can actually use them to verify accounts for services like Facebook, LinkedIn, Signal, Instagram. A lot of services are very picky about phone numbers, and they don't like you trying to use virtual lines if they can detect them. This is a super useful site for finding the best option for your use case. I am sure they make some kind of commission if you sign up with their links, but the site is totally free to use. The next one is tweet.md. If you are looking at a user profile, a post, or a thread on x.com, all you do is go to your URL bar and replace the x.com portion with tweet.md. What you get back is the tweet, article, thread, profile, whatever, as clean markdown. They pitch this as making it easy to format individual tweets and articles from X for use in LLM tools. You can certainly do that. I just find it a really easy way to save X content. I routinely come across interesting, longer form articles, and this is a convenient way to save that as markdown for later use. You get 5 uses per month for free, which they track by your IP address. You can buy credits, which sends you an API key that you just paste back into the site and use, so there's no account per se. $5 gets you 500 credits, and there are larger blocks as well if you need them. Next up is MailWhip. This lets you hook up a domain or subdomain and then use it to generate unlimited forwarding email addresses, disposable email addresses, or catch-all email addresses. You can also set up addresses that forward to groups. You can reply and have your replies come from the disposable address that you've set up. You can route emails to webhooks for processing and third-party tools. Supposedly there is an email to Slack feature coming soon. Probably a little bit niche, but I have used a similar service for years to set up forwarding addresses on demand, route emails, and create groups. It's going to handle all addresses on the domain or subdomain that you give it, so it's probably something you wouldn't want to use with yourdomain.com, but something like mail.yourdomain.com. There's a 7-day trial, and plans start at $10 per year. You can find MailWhip at mailwip.com. And last up is calfeed.ai. This lets you create subscribable calendars from plain text, images, existing ICS files, websites that list events, CSV files, and all kinds of other things. You dump everything in, it creates a calendar from those events and gives you a link that you can then share with other people so that they can add it in their calendar apps, Apple, Google, Outlook, Yahoo, whatever. And what's really cool is that you can then go in and make updates to to the events if you need to. And because the people you shared it with subscribed to a calendar hosted at calfeed.ai, their calendar events are automatically updated when you make changes. So let's say you are getting your office together for a group trip or going on vacation with your family or a few families. You can dump in screenshots of event confirmations, paste in the URL of an event you're attending, type in the date and time of a dinner that you've set up, all of that stuff. And then you get a subscribable calendar everybody can join in their app of choice. And then if you need to make changes to something later, it's all kept in sync. There are two payment options: pay as you go, $25 gets you 10 calendar credits, or you can do a monthly plan, and that's unlimited for $19 per month. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip. Now for your moment of concise advice. My wife and I went to a dinner with a few of her math teacher colleagues recently. Now, I'm not sure why, but teachers love talking about work. They will tell you that they can't wait for summer vacation and teaching drives them crazy, but the minute they get out of school, all they want to talk about is school. Mostly it is about management and students and that kind of thing, but this time the conversation turned to math for quite a bit. Derivatives this and integrations that and blah, blah, blah about integrals. I know exactly nothing about math, so I just sat there shoveling food into my face in an attempt to repress the trauma of being in math class as a child. When the topic is something about teenage boys misbehaving, I can totally relate and engage in the conversation because I am mentally stunted at about the age of 14 and find myself on the side of the teenage boys more often than not. But when it's something math related, I just shrink back and wonder where these people learned all of this satanic voodoo in the first place. But they're obviously not alone when it comes to inside baseball. Groups of every kind build custom vocabularies on purpose because a private language is one of the fastest and most effective ways to get people to build a bond with one another. It acts a little bit like a membership card, since using it correctly proves that you are in the know and part of the club, and hearing somebody else use it correctly tells you that you are among your own people. Every community has some version of this, whether it's sports, church, professional. The shorthand does serve some legitimate function. It speeds up the work, of course, but the inside references also build affection, and after a while, the language itself becomes part of what holds the group together. Cults understand this mechanism better than just about any other group. They basically create an entire replacement dictionary, and the most sophisticated ones invent special words for outsiders themselves, so that even the concept of everyone else belongs to the group. And then eventually members can only speak comfortably with one another, and the leaders count on it because the vocabulary builds a moat that keeps insiders inside and prevents outsiders from getting a foothold. Are math teachers a cult? Almost certainly. Is your team at the firm? Probably not, but I guarantee you there is some insider language happening. Now again, this is useful and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it has its particular place. It can become a problem when the people on the other side of that wall of jargon are the people paying your bills. Professional education tends to fill our heads with terminology for years, and then at some point you have to go backward and relearn plain English if you plan to make a living having conversations with regular people who aren't attorneys. Some of the best courtroom communicators figured that out a long time ago, and they spent years deliberately unlearning the vocabulary so that they can actually be effective at presenting their cases to a jury. In fact, the people who understand things comprehensively and are the most valuable communicators are often the ones who can explain some very specialized concept to an absolute layman without leaning on all the special language. But most of us never end up making it all the way back from that, and I am still surprised when I see not just lawyers, but everybody in the legal profession presenting things to clients using all kinds of insider language, and it's not even intentional. We do it automatically. We have abbreviations and acronyms that we have come up with and we use internally all day, and then when talking to a client, we use those same terms and they nod politely, but they feel like complete outsiders in the process. You might be looking across the desk at someone whose marriage is ending and asking a question about their matter or mention a document they need for their file. From their perspective, those words tend to shrink what is probably the worst day or worst event in their lives down to some just agenda item on your checklist. They're worried about the property and the kids and how everything's going to pan out, and words like matter and file tell them that you just see it as paperwork. Marketing language might be the worst offender of all because people who are new to marketing adopt the vocabulary very enthusiastically. You might end up describing a distraught client upset at the death of a family member whose property is being divided as a lead, and then before long the lead is moving down the funnel and somebody in the office is asking whether the lead is ready to close. Now, it is, of course, important that you learn all of that terminology and understand it and use it where appropriate because you need the words to understand the strategies behind them. But I also suggest that you quarantine them off to the place where they are most useful and most effective. And it's not just your attorneys that you need to worry about, and not just legalese either. In our firm, we abbreviated everything internally, and one day I overheard one of our administrative staff telling a new client that we would follow up after we heard from OPC. Now, everybody inside our office knew that OPC meant opposing counsel, but the client in the lobby had no idea and had to ask sheepishly, and nobody on the team set out to confuse anyone. The shorthand just leaked out of the back office and into a conversation where it didn't belong. And it put up a wall between us and the meal ticket, client we were supposed to be helping. And the same goes for your referral sources if they are not in the same cool kids jargon club. The accountant or the therapist or the banker who might send you business probably sits outside of your internal vocabulary too, at least in some ways, and people are less likely to refer their own clients into conversations that they can't follow. Every insider word that you use with an outsider makes them feel distinctly like an outsider, even if that's not your intention, and it raises the cost of dealing with you. So what I want you to think about this week is listening to your firm the way an outsider would hear it. Listen to an intake call or read the last 10 emails that the rest of your office sent out to clients and write down every word that a normal person would have to ask a question about. And then for each word on that list, choose a better replacement that doesn't require any explanation. You don't need to stop using any of your special lingo. Actually, you shouldn't stop. Like I said, it helps build cohesion. But you need to be hyper aware of when it's doing what it's supposed to and when it is alienating the people you want to bring in closer. For them, the only goal is to sound like a person who knows how to help. That's your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from Boston, thank you for joining me today. Never forget that what you are doing is important work. Small, consistent steps focusing on marketing, management, and technology are how we build better firms, and you are 1 week closer to the practice you deserve. Until next time, I'm Ned Days.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of other lawyers who are working on instead of in their businesses. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your practice. Join us today at roseninstitute.com.